It looks like California could end Silicon Valley with taxation, excessive taxation. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about all these billionaires that are talking about fleeing California, fleeing Silicon Valley to get away from this wealth tax, this proposed wealth tax. And weirdly enough, Gavin Newsom, I think, is fighting this one too. But yeah, California is quite a place. I spent a good chunk of my life living in California. I lived in the Bay Area, pretty close to Silicon Valley. And it was a great place to grow up. It really was. But it's unrecognizable now. Just the crime, the homeless problem in San Francisco is really, very different than it was in the 80s and 90s. But it looks like a lot of billionaires are just going to nope out completely. And I think Elon Musk kind of set the tone for that a couple of years ago when he took Twitter and he moved to Texas with it. I think we're going to see a lot of other companies do the same thing. I think we are, out of necessity. So let's take a look at this. And that's a huge part of California culture, as is the entertainment industry. And the entertainment industry is talking about moving to Nevada. It's like, what is California going to have left, right? Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, Geeky is sitting this video out. You're stuck with me. That's okay. I think this kind of stuff bores her. But yeah, let's talk about this. It's come from the San Francisco Standard. Leave before the B. The billionaire tax backlash is spreading far beyond billionaires. Okay, panic is spreading through Silicon Valley as founders and investors worry the tax could push startups and future innovation out of California altogether. I think that ship has already sailed. I'm going to be honest. I think it's sailed. Billionaires aren't the only people second-guessing their California loyalties over the proposed billionaire tax. Entrepreneurs with fewer commas in their net worth are considering leaving the state as the risks of the proposed ballot initiative start to come into focus. Should their contingency plans lead to moving vans, it could threaten Silicon Valley's role as the epicenter of innovation. Everyone's in a panic, says Brianne Kimmel, founder of San Francisco-based Work-Life Ventures. Kimmel, who has invested in nearly 80 startups, said the majority of her portfolio companies based in California have begun drafting contingency plans to leave the state in the event the ballot measure passes. Again, it hasn't passed yet, but just the talk of it is sending people into a frenzy. People are already leaving. I think Peter Thiel already left. This affects anyone who has taken a chance on an early stage company in exchange for equity, Kimmel said, adding that the tax would be completely detrimental for San Francisco itself. In recent days, news phase has begun circulating in tech circles. Leave before the B. The mantra suggests that startup founders decamp from California before their company raises a Series B funding round, a milestone that can give them an on-paper net worth of billions, even if that wealth remains locked in illiquid equity. It's one of the several signs that the backlash to the proposed tax has spilled over from the intended target of billionaires leaving California to a whole sector of entrepreneurs and investors whose confidence in the state as the best place to build tech companies has come into question. Again, back in the day, man, the Bay Area, that was it. That's pretty much everybody that my family knew. They worked in tech or around tech or a company that was, within arm's length of tech. So it's pretty wild to see this, right? So they said this is what it's about. For those of you who don't know, they said the proposal sponsored by Service Employees International Union, United Healthcare Workers West, has a mouthful. So a union would impose a 5% tax on the net worth of California residents with at least a $1 billion net worth, including those whose wealth is largely tied up in private companies. Billionaires can also opt to pay about 1% annually over 5 years. The tax is no sure thing. Organizers need to gather nearly 900,000 signatures to place the measure on the November ballot. Then it would need to be approved by 50% of California voters. If it's approved and overcomes the inevitable legal challenges, the assessment could raise about $100 billion for state-funded health care. So it's about bilking the wealthy, right? So here's an article from TechCrunch. It said why Silicon Valley is really talking about fleeing California. It's not the 5%. So they're saying it's not because of the wealth tax. Let's see. Larry Page, who was the co-founder of Google, he left too. I think Peter Thiel left. Take Larry Page, who about 3% of Google, who about 3% of Google, but who owns about 3% of Google. Typo. I think I'm going to put a pin in it. I think these news outlets, I really believe they're making deliberate typos to make it look like their articles aren't written by AI. I'm not even joking. I've seen more typos in articles lately, mistakes that AI would not have made. So I think they won't be like, well, look at us. We don't even use Grammarly. We don't even use spell check anymore because it's AI adjacent at TechCrunch. So anyway, take Larry Page, whose net worth, or who owns about 3% of Google, but controls 30% of its voting power through dual class stock. Under this proposal, he'd owe taxes on that 30%. Okay, so for a company valued in the hundreds of billions, that's a lot more than a rounding error. The Post reports that one SpaceX alumni founder building grid technology would face a tax bill at the Series B stage of the company that would wipe out his entire holdings. So this is about the Series B. This guy is David Gamage from the University of Missouri. He said, I don't understand why the billionaires aren't just calling good tax lawyers, he told the San Francisco Standard. He insists that founders wouldn't be forced to sell. Those with most of their wealth in private stock could open up a deferral account for assets they don't want taxed immediately. California would instead take 5% whenever those shares are eventually sold. If your startup fails, you pay nothing. But if your startup is next Google, you're giving California a share of your gamble. He also said founders could submit alternative valuations from certified appraisers reflecting what shares could actually sell for. That's pretty small consolation, they said, for startups that aren't publicly traded. Calculating valuations is difficult, said another tax expert. These are not clear cut. Basically, they don't want to take the chance. They don't want to take the chance that they're going to get mega rich and have all of their earnings wiped out. And frankly, at this point, California in general, I'm going to be honest, who would want to start a business there? As a business owner myself, Pennsylvania is bad enough. I got to be honest. I am ranting constantly to Geeky about the tax situation in Pennsylvania. It is brutal. And the cynic in me is like, you know what? Small business owners, not the big corporations. I don't even know if we have a lot of big corporations in Pennsylvania other than like Hershey chocolate, right? I don't think we have very many anymore. But Comcast, I think Comcast is here. But yeah, it's the mom and pop businesses that get taxed to death. And then I watch our money get handed over to people who don't want to work. And it makes me angry. It really does. Because like if you're a business owner, we've been self-employed for the better part of 2 decades now, to one degree or another, doing different things. And, we don't have a safety net. And to see these other people just get handed and they just don't want to work. And that's your money. That's your money. And they take it from you, like a lot of it. They take like 35, 40%. It's ridiculous. And, that's the Fed and the state. Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania is tenacious AF. Like they will not, if you're even like the tiniest bit late on your taxes, you will hear about it. And then it'll probably be followed by an audit. Not that I would know from personal experience. No, I'm just saying these people are just like really hungry for money. And it's because the whole state is bankrolled by tax dollars, taken from middle-class business owners and redistributed. So I can't imagine wanting to start a multi-billion-dollar company here and just having to fork all that over to the state. Especially, okay, that's Pennsylvania, and we got the weather to deal with it on top of everything else, right? But California, like, it's a shithole now. And I can say that. I lived there for quite a while. I lived in the Bay Area. It was beautiful. At one point in time, it was beautiful. Yeah, we had Oakland, but the rest of it was pretty nice. And it's a freaking shithole now. Who would want to live there and have to deal with that? And then have to deal with the employees, the potential employees that are I'm going to be honest, some of the most entitled in the country. They really are. And, and again, look where this tax is coming from. It's coming from the unions. And it's just that the average citizen can't afford to live out there. They want to become a welfare state. They want everyone to be on the dole and everyone to be suckling off the government teat, including the corporations, including Hollywood. But the weird thing is that Gavin Newsom is actually against it because he knows it's going to be deeply unpopular. I think if he thought they could get away with it, he'd be cool with it. because, he loves money. But I think he knows it's going to chase off companies. And again, when you have guys like Elon Musk pulling out, everybody else is going to follow. Can you imagine? I mean, what happens if just imagine, what if Apple decides they're going to leave California? Apple, which is a fixture of Cupertino, California. They've been there for decades. Can you imagine if they just decided one day, hey, we're just going to shut down the campus and we're just going to move to Texas. We'll build another one. I could see it happening. I totally could see it happening. And, the state of California did it to themselves. It's not just one thing. This is, I think, the shit-flavored cherry on top of the vomit-flavored sundae, if you would. I think this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. But it was already an unattractive place to set up a business and hire people. And no offense to people who live in California. I loved California. I loved living there when I was younger. I have a lot of good memories. That state no longer exists. And that's what's so heartbreaking. Like I talk to people out west and I'm like, so what's this like? Or what's that like? Or is this still there? And they're like, you don't even want to come back and visit. You don't even want to come back and visit. It's awful. My whole family left. It's awful. Yeah, it said, if you've been living under a rock, California's healthcare union is pushing a ballot initiative for one-time 5% tax on anyone who is worth over $1 billion. That's net worth. That's not, you'll have $1 billion in your bank account. Okay. That's not how it works. The resistance is fierce and bipartisan. Okay. As reported last week by the Wall Street Journal, Silicon Valley elite have formed a signal chat called Save California that includes everyone from Trump's crypto czar, David Sachs, to Kamala Harris's mega donor, Chris Larson. They've called the proposal communism and poorly defined. Yeah. Some are taking just-in-case measures, too, with Larry Page reportedly dropping $173 million on 2 Miami waterfront properties across last month and the first week of the new year, and one of Peter Thiel's firms leasing Miami office space. So they're going to Florida. Even Gavin Newsom is fighting it. This will be defeated. There's no question in my mind, he told the New York Times this week, adding that he'd been relentlessly working behind the scenes against the proposal. I'll do what I have to do. Yeah, because he knows it's over. If everybody leaves California, they're going to take all their tax dollars with them. They're going to take their jobs with them. And California's already got 2 black guys, 2 broken arms, broken legs, and a pipe shoved where the sun don't shine at this point. Like, it is not an attractive place to set up shop for anybody doing anything in any industry at this point. And that is a lot of it under Newsom's rule. Let's be honest. It is, they're like, it's communism. I'm like, have you been paying attention? From where I'm sitting, California has been veering hard left into communism for at least the last decade or so. This is just the natural outcome. So they were talking they could even seize your property. It wasn't even just dollars. They were talking like they could seize your property to pay this tax bill. It's ridiculous. It's like, who do you think you are, the Fed? that needs to end too. And that's a whole nother rant. I have a very strong libertarian streak in me, and I'm not cool with the Fed and the IRS and taxes and all that jazz, but that is neither here nor there. I would just say, as a business owner, don't go to California. Take your business out of California. I think that's what's going to happen. I think a lot of these businesses are already, writing up their contingency plans, like they said. And that's startups. Again, what happens if Apple or Google or one of these big companies says, you know what, we're done. We're done with California. It's a joke. We can't survive here. You're killing us, man. We're going to leave. And I can see it happening. I can totally see it happening. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. There you go, guys. Leave before the B. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.